I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. do so.
U.S. President Joe Biden may announce his re-election campaign by video as soon as next Tuesday, according to sources on Thursday, setting the stage for a possible rematch with his Republican predecessor Donald Trump. Although a source cautioned that the exact timing of Biden's campaign announcement could change. Biden, now 80 years old, is the oldest person to have occupied the White House. If he secures another 4-year term, he'd be 86 by the end of it. In recent weeks, Biden has laid out the likely themes of a re-election bid in political speeches and secured a doctor's note that says he is fit for duty. He plans to campaign on his recent track record, presiding over the economic recovery after COVID-19 and record job growth, although a 40-year high in inflation has marred his tenure. Democrats are split on whether he should run for office again in 2024. A March Reuters Ipsos poll found 45% of Democrats believed he should not run again, with 48% saying he should. A separate Reuters Ipsos poll released on Sunday found just 39% of Americans approve of his job performance. The White House and the Democratic National Committee declined to comment. Biden is expected to meet next week with top fundraisers from his last campaign, a key sign to showing whether his strongest supporters can overcome doubts about his age and prospects in another grueling race. Republicans have not picked their candidate for the presidential election yet, but polls show Trump leading over a pack of declared and undeclared GOP candidates, including Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, and Nikki Haley.
Among our most pressing national security concerns is Russia's illegal and unprovoked war against Ukraine. In my visit to Kyiv, I saw firsthand the brutality of Russia's invasion. The Kremlin has bombed hospitals, destroyed cultural sites, attacked energy grids to cause widespread pain and suffering among civilians. Ending Russia's war is a moral imperative, and it will save many innocent lives. As I've said, it's also the single best thing we can do for the global economy. China's no-limits partnership and support for Russia is a worrisome indication that it is not serious about ending the war. It is essential that China and other countries do not provide Russia with material support or assistance with sanctions evasion. We will continue to make the position of the United States extremely clear to Beijing and companies in its jurisdiction. The consequences of any violations would be severe.
What was meant to be the first test of the most powerful space launch system ever built ended Thursday in an explosion just minutes after takeoff. The uncrewed test of SpaceX's two-stage rocket ship, standing taller than the Statue of Liberty and the largest ever assembled, combined for the first time the private space firm's Super Heavy booster rocket with its Starship vehicle. The two parts were supposed to separate, with the Starship planned to execute a 90-minute debut flight into space.
As of right now, we are awaiting stage separation, where Starship should separate from the Super Heavy booster.
But less than 4 minutes into flight, a live webcast showed the upper stage Starship failed to separate as designed from the lower stage Super Heavy, and the combined vehicle was seen flipping end over end.
We should have had separation by now. Obviously, this does not appear to be a nominal situation.
Yeah, it does appear to be spinning, but I do want to remind everyone that everything after clearing the tower was icing on the cake.
The spaceship reached a peak altitude of nearly 20 miles before its fiery disintegration. Nevertheless, SpaceX officials on the webcast cheered the feat of getting the fully integrated Starship and booster rocket off the ground for the first time with a seemingly otherwise clean launch, and declared the brief episode a successful test flight. Getting the Starship and its booster rocket off the ground together for the first time represents a milestone in SpaceX's ambition of sending humans back to the moon and ultimately onto Mars, playing a pivotal role in Artemis, NASA's newly inaugurated human spaceflight program. Elon Musk, the founder and chief executive of SpaceX, congratulated his team on Twitter, which he also owns, saying, quote, "Learned a lot for next test launch in a few months." NASA chief Bill Nelson seemed to agree, tweeting, "Every great achievement throughout history has demanded some level of calculated risk, because with great risk comes great reward. Looking forward to all that SpaceX learns to the next test flight and beyond."
There's a reason why there's a professional basketball for men and women. It's about fairness.
The Republican leader of the U.S. House of Representatives repeatedly appealed to what he called fairness in describing a bill that cleared the chamber aiming to ban transgender women and girls from competing in women's and girls' school sports.
And it's about muscle mass and it's about fairness.
The Republican-controlled House on Thursday passed the measure by 219 to 203, a win for Kevin McCarthy. But the measure has little chance of passing the Democratic-controlled U.S. Senate. The bill seeks to change the 1972 civil rights law known as Title IX, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in educational programs or activities that receive federal funding. The change would require that a student's sex be, quote, based on an individual's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Republican House Majority Leader Steve Scalise joined other House Republicans outside the Capitol after the vote.
The whole intention of Title IX was to create more opportunities for women to compete in sports. And yet it undermines the very fabric when you say a biological man can just play in a woman's sport if they choose to.
President Joe Biden has vowed to veto the legislation if it even gets to his desk. Democratic lawmaker Sheila Jackson Lee described the Republican measure as another attempt to marginalize and victimize transgender kids.
This is a meaningless bill. The Olympics has addressed the question. The NCAA has addressed the question. When will we realize that we have the right to freedom of religion? We have a right to our beliefs. And in that, we have no right to undermine and threaten the lives of trans children.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
More than 50% of transgender children have either contemplated suicide or attempted suicide. Where is the decency on the other side of the aisle that in the face of that dynamic, you want to bully trans kids?
According to the Human Rights Campaign, 21 states already have transgender school sports bans in place.
This year could be the hottest on record, fueled by climate change and the expected return of the El Niño weather phenomenon, scientists said on Thursday. After 3 years of the generally cooler La Niña weather pattern in the Pacific Ocean, the world will experience a return to El Niño, its warmer counterpart, later this year, according to climate models. During El Niño, winds blowing west along the equator slow down and warm water is pushed east, creating warmer ocean surface temperatures. Europe experienced its hottest summer on record in 2022. Samantha Burgess of the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service said.
So the anticipation is if we do transition into El Nino, the expectation is that 2023 is more likely to be warmer than 2022.
Copernicus published a report on Thursday, assessing last year's climate change-fueled extreme weather, including disastrous flooding in Pakistan and Antarctic sea ice hitting record low levels. Climate models suggest a return to El Niño weather conditions in the late boreal summer, and the possibility of a strong El Niño developing towards the end of the year, Copernicus said. The last 8 years were the hottest on record, reflecting the longer-term warming driven by greenhouse gas emissions. Although most of the world's major emitters have pledged to slash their net emissions to zero, global CO2 emissions last year continued to rise.